Good morning. It's Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. This is Deacon Don again. But our little reflection today is really about yesterday's gospel, April 13th, 2021. And if you have an opportunity, it's a gospel from John. I really do recommend that you read it because it's going to be important to fully understand what it is that I'd like to share with you today. You see, John's gospel is not written from an historical perspective. He doesn't write it as a narrative telling everything that's happened. John's gospel is very different from the other three gospels. He's written it in light of what's important as of Jesus Christ as God. It's a very spiritual gospel. So when he mentions a person, in this particular case, he mentions a person 3 times in his full gospel. There must be a very good reason for that. And the person that we're talking about is a Pharisee named Nicodemus. And this character, this Nicodemus, fascinates me. You only see him appear in John's Gospel. And again, 3 times in John's Gospel. Chapter 3, chapter 7, and chapter 19. And we'll talk about that. See, Nicodemus is a powerful Pharisee and is a member of the Sanhedrin. The man has tremendous power and tremendous influence. He's a Pharisee who's well settled in the leadership of Jewish law, culture, and Jewish life. His life, personally, is very good and very stable. He has a lot to be thankful for, that his life is great. He's revered by many, and perhaps feared by some as well, all because of the power that he wields. So this Nicodemus sees Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, and he sees him performing miracles, casting out demons, curing people of their ills, taking the people who couldn't walk, the cripple, and having him pick up his mat and walking away. And he's fascinated with who Jesus of Nazareth is and why he's here. And the fact that he performs miracles and he doesn't take credit for them. He's very low key. So he wants to really know more. Because when he's faced with Jesus and what he finds out, well, his world and everything that he's become used to becomes in question, doesn't it? He sincerely wants to know who this Jesus of Nazareth is, this preacher. And he wants to learn why he's here and what he's doing. And that's where the scene in John's gospel, in yesterday's gospel, that's the scene that's set. Jesus and Nicodemus have met quietly. Neither one, mostly Nicodemus, doesn't want to be seen with him. So they've met quietly, so nobody knows, except for a couple of the apostles. So he wants to be able to examine who Jesus is. And you know what? Jesus ends up ministering to Nicodemus, teaching, comforting him, and challenging him as well. By the end of this meeting with Jesus on the rooftop, Nicodemus realizes that his faith journey has taken a very unexpected turn. What he has learned has shaken his life. This one encounter changes the stable Pharisee's life forever. He doesn't fear Jesus, not by any means. Matter of fact, he comes to believe in him and becomes a believer and a follower. But he is faced with fear. And that fear is that his life is changing. And he struggles with that. He doesn't know quite what to do with that. But because of that, he can't openly become a follower of Jesus, so he remains a secret follower of Jesus for quite some time. The second time Nicodemus shows up in John's Gospel is in chapter 7, and that's when the Sanhedrin is plotting against Jesus, trying to find a way to be able to capture him and to kill him. Nicodemus, while not openly professing his belief in Jesus, tries to protect him and encourages the Sanhedrin not to persecute this Jesus of Nazareth. He does a lot, but unfortunately, he's not successful. But he is taking a risk in bucking the tide to have Jesus killed. And he's concerned, has been concerned about Jesus' welfare since the day he met him. The third time that Nicodemus shows up in John's Gospel is in chapter 19, and this is the time when it's most sad. After Jesus is crucified, Nicodemus comes to the place where Jesus' death, and he openly helps Jesus' followers with the body. He publicly shows himself as a follower for the first time. I wonder what was going through his mind to openly show support and comfort to his fellow followers of Jesus of Nazareth. We don't know what actually happens to Nicodemus from this point on. There's some writing that hasn't been confirmed, but he seems to be a mystery. But what's important to you and me, other than what I think is a pretty interesting short lesson about a man's life, is, do we act in a similar way as Nicodemus? How often do we act in that similar way? Do we believe in Jesus Christ and have all that good intent, but we can't truly find ourselves to give ourselves fully to him, just as Jesus asks? To give up what we have in order to gain so much more, which was the question that Jesus asked of Nicodemus, and Nicodemus couldn't do it. Do we become a fringe follower, just like Nicodemus was? Listen, good people, no doubt, but also good people who can't fully find the way to make the full commitment to be that faith relationship with Jesus Christ. So the message, brothers and sisters, is if we see any of this in our own lives, what can we do about it? Now look, I'm the first to admit that quite often I see that type of struggle in my own life, to not really fully commit to Jesus. It's frustrating when I see that happen. But one thing for you and for me is that Jesus' offer, his invitation to follow me, is never taken back. It never expires. He's always asking us to do that. And he understands when we can't, but still encourages us to accept the offer. And you know what? We can accept it if we have the courage to see what it gives us. This whole situation is a realization that Jesus is offering us so much and has given us so much and has struggled and given up his life for us. And all he asks is our belief in him, to follow him. Have a great day, and God bless.